ready to ditch the desk job and trade it for a diving suit.
It's kind of fun, right?
Today, we're going deep, like really deep,
We deep dive.
literally, into the world of harvest divers.
And I hear it's a booming career.
But we're not talking about, finding lost pirate treasure or anything.
No buried gold.
This is about algae and coral and even, get this, sea urchins.
They're like the underwater bounty.
It's all part of this unique career path.
And it's this fascinating mix of like adventure, but also environmental responsibility.
So they're not just out there grabbing whatever they can.
Oh, no. It's all very managed. They're harvesting.
Gotcha.
And that's how they make sure the ecosystem stays healthy for, future generations.
Okay, so let's unpack that a bit.
Yeah, let's dive in.
We've got some great info from RoleCatcher. They're a career development platform, but, and I'm sure you'll agree, we're going way beyond the basics today.
Oh, absolutely. This is the deep dive, remember?
So let's get into it. What's it actually like to be a harvest diver? What do they do all day?
Okay, so picture this.
Okay.
It's early morning, you're on a boat, the sun's just coming up over the water.
Beautiful.
And here's the twist. Instead of casting a line, you're getting your diving gear ready.
I'm already hooked. So we're not talking about a quick little snorkel here. This is serious deep sea work,
I
honey.
100%. We're talking depths down to 12 meters,
Yeah.
sometimes more.
Wow, that's deep.
And here's where it gets really interesting. There are two main ways they do this: apnea diving or surface-supplied air.
Wait, apnea diving? That's the no tanks, hold your breath method, right?
Yep, that's the one.
No way.
It's how they've been doing it for centuries.
Wow.
Requires incredible lung capacity, total breath control.
I can barely hold my breath for a minute.
They train really hard to stay underwater longer.
I bet.
Usually they'll work in shallower areas or only for shorter periods when they're using apnea.
Makes sense. Now, what about surface-supplied air? Is that more like what you see in those documentaries with the suits and the helmets?
Exactly. The divers are hooked up to an air supply on the surface by a really long hose.
Oh, right. I've seen that.
Yeah, and that means they can stay down longer, obviously, and work in much deeper water.
So depending on what they're doing, a harvest diver could be free diving for sea urchins one day and then using the surface-supplied air to get coral the next.
Exactly. And each method has its own, difficulties and things you have to consider.
I bet.
Like apnea, that takes incredible physical fitness, amazing breath control.
Right.
And surface supplied, well, that comes with its own risks, entanglement, and things. Plus, you've got all that equipment to manage.
Yeah, that's a lot to think about. So you're saying it's more than just loving the ocean? You need to be aware of the technical stuff, the risks, how physical it is.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
But of course, there are also some pretty cool perks.
Yeah, besides literally working underwater, what are some of the rewards of this job?
Well, there's the money, for one.
Okay, let's talk numbers.
Now, obviously, it really depends on how much experience you have, where you're working, what you're harvesting. But generally, experienced harvest divers can make a good living.
But like, what kind of salary are we talking here?
Entry level, you're probably looking at around $30,000 to $40,000 per year.
And then?
But seasoned divers, especially if they have specific skills or work in high-demand areas, they can pull in upwards of 60, 80, even more annually.
Wow. Okay, so the potential is there, but I'm guessing it's not all about the money, is it? There must be something special about having such a unique job.
100%. Not many people can say they spend their days exploring the ocean floor, working with marine life.
True.
It's a career path that really appeals to certain people, the adventurous types, obviously,
Yeah.
but also those who care about the environment, It's pretty demanding, both physically and mentally.
It does sound incredible, but I'm sure there are downsides too. What are some of the challenges people should be aware of if they're considering this kind of career?
Well, for one thing, it's physically demanding. And I don't just mean the diving. You're handling equipment. You're often working in pretty rough weather.
Right. Out on the open ocean.
Exactly. And you could be working really long hours, particularly when it's peak season for whatever you're harvesting.
So you're saying you got to be tough to do this job, adaptable, maybe even a little fearless.
You got it.
Wow.
Oh, and then there's the whole job instability thing. The demand for certain marine resources can be, well, unpredictable.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Which obviously has a huge impact on your job security. Some areas it's very seasonal, and others it depends on things like the weather or even just what people are buying. And then there are the environmental regulations, too. They change all the time.
So there are definitely some serious pros and cons to consider, some real challenges alongside that sense of adventure.
For sure. It's not all, Finding Nemo down there.
But let's say someone is interested, they're ready to take the plunge, so to speak.
Okay.
What's the career path look like? What's the progression for a harvest diver?
Well, it's not exactly like climbing some corporate ladder.
Right, no corner offices under the sea.
No way. It's more about experience, becoming really skilled in certain areas, building a reputation. People need to know you're responsible, that you know your stuff.
So where do you even start?
Most divers, they start out as apprentices, assistants basically, working with the more seasoned divers, learning the ropes.
Literally learning the ropes, I bet.
Yeah. But seriously, that's where you get the hang of all the techniques, the safety stuff,
Right.
and how to actually harvest the different resources. That varies a lot.
Yeah, I can imagine those first few months are intense, learning about the equipment, figuring out how to read the ocean.
It's a steep learning curve, that's for sure. You're paying your dues, proving yourself, but you're also soaking up everything you can from the more experienced divers. They become like mentors.
That's cool. So then as you progress, you might specialize, like in harvesting a certain thing, algae or coral, or you mentioned sea urchins.
Exactly. You become the go-to person for that particular thing.
The sea urchin whisperer. I like it.
Huh. Right. And as you get better and people trust you, you can move up. Maybe lead a team, manage a whole project, or even consult, advise companies on sustainable harvesting.
So you're leveling up, not just your diving, but the business side of things, the ecological impact.
100%.
I think.
It's bigger than just you and what you can pull out of the water.
Totally. Now, this might sound a bit out there, but I'm picturing some harvest divers getting into photography or even filmmaking, like documenting what they're seeing.
Oh, absolutely. It happens all the time.
So you could be harvesting coral one day and filming it for a documentary the next.
Why not? There's tons of room for creativity in this field, for branching out.
That's what I love to hear. It sounds like it really is a job where you can follow your passions. Okay, so we've talked about the physical side of it, being a good diver. But what other skills are essential for a harvest diver? What do you really need to succeed?
Well, being able to think critically is huge, like really huge.
Because things can change quickly down there.
Oh, in a heartbeat? You have to assess risks, make decisions on the fly, be adaptable. Things don't always go to plan.
So it's not just about following instructions, it's about thinking for yourself, being able to problem solve under pressure, and I mean that literally.
Exactly. And that ties into communication.
Oh, right, because you're working as a team down there.
Most of the time, yeah.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to communicate clearly, whether you're with your team or talking to researchers or whoever.
Especially when your safety is on the line.
100%.
Yeah.
And it's not just about talking, it's listening to. Really listening, following instructions, paying attention to the environment.
Picking up on those subtle cues.
Right. Almost like being a detective.
Okay, so you got to be physically fit, a good communicator, able to think critically, and a detective. Anything else?
Well, we're in a digital world now, right?
Always.
Even harvest divers need some tech skills these days. Remember those automated hiring systems we were talking about?
Oh, right. The algorithms that decide who gets an interview.
Exactly. You got to know how to play the game a little bit. You have to show off your skills in a way that makes sense to a computer.
So it's not enough to just be an expert diver. You need to be a tech whiz, too.
Kind of, yeah. Think of it like this. You're translating all that underwater knowledge, all your experience, into a language those algorithms can understand. Highlight the right things, use the right keywords.
Like the job ad wants someone with sustainable harvesting experience.
Exactly. Put that front and center on your resume, make sure it's on your online profiles. And don't forget networking, talking to other divers, joining groups, going to events.
Because you never know who you might meet.
Exactly.
Makes sense. So much of it comes down to connections, right?
Yeah.
But even with the algorithms and everything, there are still those interviews to tackle.
Yeah.
What do you think are some of the questions that aspiring harvest divers should be ready for?
Oh, they'll definitely ask about sustainable harvesting, for sure.
Makes sense. It's such a big part of the job now.
Huge. They might ask something like, how would you make sure you're harvesting sustainably? Or, what do you do to minimize your impact on the environment?
Right. They want to know you get it. That it's not just about taking as much as you can.
Exactly. It's a delicate balance. Here's another one they love. Imagine you're on a dive, right? And you come across a species that's not on your list, not supposed to be harvested. What do you do?
Okay, so that's a tough one. It's about judgment, right? Respect for the marine life, but also being able to follow the rules even when no one's watching.
100%. You have to prove you're not just in it for the money, that you actually care about the ocean, you want to protect it.
It's about more than just a paycheck. It's about passion, knowledge, ethics, all of that. Any other tips for those interviews? I imagine they can be pretty nerve-wracking.
Definitely. Be prepared to talk about working in tough conditions.
Mm-hmm.
Harvest diving isn't exactly a walk in the park.
Yeah, no kidding.
They need to know you can handle pressure, think fast, and stay calm, even in a tricky situation.
Which can happen anytime, especially underwater.
Exactly. You need to be adaptable, resourceful. You know, this job, it takes a special kind of person with a specific set of skills, experience, personality, all of it.
Well said. So, as we're slowly resurfacing from this deep dive into the world of harvest divers, what's the key takeaway for our listeners? What should they be thinking about?
I think it really comes down to this. Harvest diving, it's not just a job, it's a calling. It's for the adventurers, the ones who thrive on a challenge, who feel connected to the ocean.
I love that. If you're drawn to the mystery and the beauty down there and you want to make a difference, maybe this is it. Maybe this is the adventure you've been waiting for. A huge thanks to RoleCatcher for the
You're
insights.
doing great work.
And to all of you listening, we hope this deep dive has inspired you to learn more about this incredible career path. Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and as always, keep diving deep.